welcome to the Sacred Rainbow Warrior. Today I'm at Lake Windermere. I saw how beautiful it was. I thought I'd got to make a video while the sun's still out. Stunning. There's a gannet. Beautiful here, you can see right to the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see my face with the sun behind me, but today I'm talking about sexualization of the feminine. And I've got some notes to refer to, so I'm going to read them out because I'm better at getting my points down in writing. But this is really about the trigger points that affect men and women in relationships. And I'm going to start off with something really profound that I discovered the other day. Is about a lot of this ties in with self-worth, the problems that men and women have in sexual relating. And it's to do with the abuse of innocence as well. And why does life force always equal sex? So what came up when I was healing this in my own relationship and working through old wounds, including Akashic, it's always across all timelines. I found that men find security in sex and women find security in love. And so men are looking for a woman that provides physical pleasure and touch. It doesn't always have to be sex, it can be massage, it can be that kind of stuff. And women are looking for the security of a man who's present in his heart, because when a man is present in his heart, the woman is safe. That's what is protection. So that on its own, for me, was pretty profound. And so you can see these alternations between how the masculine spends a lot of time in his mind. And I'm not trying to demonize the mind. The mind has its benefits. But personally, on the journey that I've taken through purification, I came from that background. I used to I did psychotherapy, I did a lot of, read hundreds of self-help books. I was really into science, all of that stuff, and I went really deep into biohacking. But when I met Hazel, I realized I was missing a vital component to change my life, to change my happiness. And through working with plant medicine, I was able to enhance the depth of that medicine that she was trying to teach me. And essentially, it was the medicine of the heart. I've never met anyone like Hazel. I'm not just saying that because she's my partner, but if you speak to anyone who's met Hazel, they will say the same. The reason for that is she's the only person that I'd met who had managed to stay in her heart despite all of her trauma, and she's been through an enormous amount. She's this rare kind of person that even in the face of complete terror or dismantling or abuse, she manages to find a way to choose for love, and that is incredible. And I've been on this journey to try and understand why does the masculine have such a problem with the feminine? And I always use myself as an example. All of the attachments and the poor lessons I've been taught by society or family or friends or work, anything like that, anything that I've bought as a lie, I've tried to understand the truth of it and heal it. And one of the things I have learned about why the masculine has a problem with the feminine, and I mean this from like a really deep journey that I've taken. This isn't just something I plucked out of thin air. This is from deep shadow work, light work, in co-creation with my partner in divine union and in tribe. So we've been working in the third line of consciousness. We've been bringing other people in who are ready for the works. It's quite advanced. And we found it's had a profound effect on us, and it's bringing up family wounds, tribal wounds, all these kind of things. And so from this deep perspective and working deeply with women and men, I have realized that one of the main reasons men have such a problem with women is they are deeply, deeply unconscious that they are trying to live up to the feminine. And what I mean by that is they're trying to meet the feminine on their same level, which is a very difficult job. And this is what I've been trying to do. And every time I think I've got a woman sussed out, she will show me another up level. And I'm not just talking about any women, I'm talking about women who are consciously doing the work of on the path of love. And it's what it does is it creates this grandiosity wound in the masculine where he thinks that he's better than the feminine, and he'll find many different reasons to do that, like strength, physical strength, intelligence, all these things, and then he will use judgments against the feminine. The most derogatory one is she gives herself away. So all those derogatory words about being, prostitute, sleeping around, all those kind of things. And I'm going to go into the depths of that because that's actually fascinating. And so, because the masculine at a deep rooted place has a fear of the feminine because of her power. And when I mean power, I'm talking about love here because love is true power, right? On this deeply unconscious level, men find it very difficult to live to the level of the feminine that they want to be with, and this is because it takes a journey. It doesn't happen straight away. So I was just speaking to one of my friends. I was just helping him get through a process that he's having with his partner, and I said to him that in my journey of relationships, I would always take just a bit like I would always learn, sorry, not take, but learn a bit like when you move from, uh, say, Bruce Lee, he would learn a martial art and take what worked with him. He would learn what worked with him. Whatever he learned that worked for his heart, for his process, it stuck with him. And that was the same for my wounding in relationships. The first relationship, there was a wounding there. And then I would learn what I needed to learn from there. And then I would have a better girlfriend because I had improved. And essentially, what I was doing is I was upping my level. And each time I upped my level, I would meet a woman who was above my level. And then I would up level. And it's, how do I put this into words? Essentially, when I realized that the wounding in that person was too strong and they weren't taking the journey to heal it, I had to move on because I was on this self-improvement scale. And because I did that, I met Hazel, and she's my twin flame. And so when I upped my game, she upped her game. And so we're going like this, and we're climbing the ladder of ascension. And so that's really fascinating and really incredible. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that I've done that. But when I said that to a friend, he said, "Oh my God," he said, so what you're saying is you have to be the man you want to see in your partner. I was like, yeah, that's precisely what I'm trying to say. And this is the masculine's way of meeting the feminine, right? And so it's all about self-worth and self-love. So if you want to find a woman who is, and this works for women as well if you want to find a man, but if you want to find a woman who is right for you, who is high in her integrity, has passion and knows what she wants to do, then you have to have all of that in you, which means you need to take that healing journey on your own, not in relationships necessarily. And, I did a video in the past and my friend pointed this out. He said that um, about the healing journey for men, and I said, you can't do it without a woman. And technically, that's true. That is true. But first, you have to take your own journey on your own. And you can't be with a woman and you can't be in sexual relationships when you're doing that. Well, it's a choice. You can if you want to, but there's a process of healing that needs to happen. There's a process of healing that needs to happen in order for you to meet yourself in the opposite sex. And like I said in plenty of my other videos, you need eventually, in order to reclaim the wholeness of who you are, you have to work in tandem with have to sit opposite the opposite sex. And I've done plenty videos on polyamory and the issues with that. I'm not talking about polyamory. Polyamory is a form of stealing and searching, always searching for that person in the mirror. And it's also a distortion of synarchy. And synarchy is it's like the middle ground between the pure version of the kingdom. So you have the toxic patriarchy and toxic matriarchy, or the patriarchy and the matriarchy, and then you have synarchy. And synarchy is people is where is a kingdom where all the people know their place, their true place, their real place, and that's the place where they want to be because that's where their soul wants to be, and everybody has that written in their contracts. But because of all these distortions of tribe and power, power hungry, stealing power, consumerism, commoditization, all these things, everybody's lost and nobody knows where their true purpose is. Nobody knows what their divine purpose is because most of the people on the planet are cut off from their Earth Star chakra and some of the other chakras above. But the Earth Star chakra is about purpose and stability, emotional stability. Without that, you can't build your core roots. And the root star chakra is the next one in. That's the roots. And without the roots, you can't know what your life is. You can't find that lust for life, the purity of lust for life, for being in life and feeling safe in life. And to me, that's one of the most important things you can ever bring alive within yourself. I can't tell you how important that is. There is no words for how important that is, to know your purpose and to be able to bring that to life. That's so important. And the problem is sexualization gets in the way of everything. It's I can only speak from my own experience. I find it is like a drug that you don't want. It's like when I've been healing this, I felt like I was going cold turkey off some kind of hardcore drug or something. It felt really bad, and I've spoken about the 999 split so many times, and I believe that this split was the masculine. I've said this being pulled off the mother's teat, and to me that's a metaphor for the masculine is no longer allowed to feed on the feminine. But that's an integration process. But loads of men kicked off during that time, including myself. It was a real collective theme. And this feeding is the masculine looking for love in the opposite sex because they don't realize that they are facing their mirror, and so they're giving love to the feminine, and that hooks in the feminine. Say, oh, I found love in a man. And then when there's problems with sex and all these other abandonment wounds, for example, come up, the father not being in his heart, that's the father wound, not being present in his heart, all these wounds clash and they create war between the feminine and the masculine, and that creates further separation. Now I'm focusing on sexualization of the feminine because the masculine has a bigger responsibility here. It's huge. And I'll tell you the responsibility of the feminine. But first I'll say that the masculine's responsibility is to stop sexualizing himself and the feminine. It can get really, when you start healing it, you start to realize how much is sexualized. Creation is sexualized. People sexualize cartoons. They sexualize women, children, men. Creation itself can be sexualized, right? Even food. Food is an obvious one. And it may sound innocent to you, but when you start to realize how profound it is, it can be quite upsetting or a bit strange. For example, my partner and I, Hazel, we're in an outdoor pub, a garden pub outside, and it was broad daylight, and this woman had a toddler. He couldn't walk, so she was holding his hands while he walked forward. And he stopped and he looked at Hazel, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's a bit of a flirt." Less than 6 months old, right? Or I don't know how old he was, but that's irrelevant. The point is, she was sexualizing her child without even knowing it, right? So these wounds start at that early, and it can even go before you're born. So, if did your mother and father make love, or did they create lustful desire of each other, and therefore you're created through lustful desire, and that wound is passed on. Because I've been healing a lot of my mother's wounds that are passed on through her womb, and so and my father's wounds, and it's been extraordinarily difficult because there was sexual abuse that happened to my mother, and I'm not sure about my father because he was very quiet about the emotional side of his life, right? But I know that I'm healing that, and these wounds create sexualization, and so none of it's ours, but it is our responsibility. We can't blame people for it. And if you're in a relationship and you're one of those guys or one of those women that blames the other, you have to retract, turn around, look at yourself, then turn back around and say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this. I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling upset with myself, with you. I don't know how to handle it. I'm not even sure how to communicate it. I think I need help. Maybe we can help each other. Um, it's just to be brutally honest about how you feel and not take it personally. We don't have to go, oh, you sexualize me, or you don't sexualize me. It's like, hey, look, I feel like I'm sexualizing you. Right, yeah, I feel like I'm saying yes to you when I want to say no. Now, this is where I talk about the feminine wound. So the feminine wound is giving herself away to a man who's not in his heart. So the man uses love to lure in the feminine, and the man uses sorry, the feminine uses sex to lure in the man, right? So the feminine wound is because she's looking for security, a man to protect her in love, to be in love. Anybody who lives in their heart, which most women do, all they're looking for is love, right? And that is the answer. And it sounds corny, especially for men, but I've tried to get around it. It's every time I come back, love is the answer, right? But love's thrown around like toilet paper. The word love is thrown around like toilet paper, not love itself. But society has tried to bury love under this pile of lies and distortions and illusions. And the word love, to me, really doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean anymore. Like the name Alistair is an expression of love. Water is an expression of love, right? So because everything is love. And so when we talk about love, the only way to describe it is through feeling. And the heart itself is so powerful. It's a vortex. It's not just an organ. It works spiritually in a way that we can't fathom with our minds, right? And so I've spoken about this many times, is when I work with my mind, I end up running away in fear and just wasting my time in over ego thoughts. When I'm in my heart, I feel safe, I feel connected, I can translate how the feminine feels and everyone around me. And I can easily, almost, it's like psychically, because remember, psych doesn't mean the mind. Psych means soul, it means love. I can psychically communicate with my body and heart how I feel without words. And that's what the New Earth approach is. That's what the new world will be based on. Words will only be used. I'm not going to say how they will be used, but they'll be used less because it will be more about how we feel, and that feeling will communicate more and more than words ever can. So when when a man is using sex to lure, sorry, when a man is using love to lure a woman out for sex, he's trying to feed from her. He's trying to use her, and this is a huge wound for both parties involved. And because that woman is being lured into love, she then opens herself to that man, and he has sex with her or makes love with her, right? Now, because we've lost the true meaning of sacred sexuality and what it means, I would say 99% of the time it's going to be sex. It's not going to be true love or real love, because people have forgotten how to make love. And I'm not talking about Tantra. Tantra has its own problems. That's got huge problems in it, huge problems. I'm talking about sacred sexuality. This is only something that can be learned through spirit, through the chalice, through the sword and the rose. And I need to stay on track here. The wound of the feminine is I'm trying to present it in a way that is really deeply understood and how it's used against both parties. So, because I want to be compassionate here for the feminine, but I can also see how this is such a painful wound for the masculine, and the masculine used this to hurt the feminine, and the feminine used this to hurt the masculine back, and it's really horrible. So the wound is that, and this will be past life stuff. There's stuff like prostitution, rape, non-consensual rape, like even in relationships, stuff like that, porn, right? Really, really dark stuff, right? And sexual abuse, right? So this wound is when a woman is lured in, this can and has sex, and then the masculine leaves his heart. She then feels like she's been used and given herself away, right? So that's there's a huge wound there where a lot of shame can come in, right? Toxic shame. And then the masculine, if he's narcissistic, which the majority are, if they have this wound, he may start to call her names. You see this in the public, like, whore, slut, this kind of thing, promiscuous. And then we say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. The masculine does that, but when the feminine does that, she gets called all these names, and it's because of this wound. A masculine can only find integrity in a woman if he has integrity in himself, and these wounds are so toxic that they create war between the masculine and feminine. They create constant separation, trying to come together and just clashing heads like two stags, And you have to remember that the feminine has a masculine inside her which tries to protect her from the masculine, and so there's these false masks that come on of masculinity, which can be quite vicious. And this can provoke the masculine to reacting like a wounded animal. So these wounds, where the woman is exposed and used, is really, really vulnerable place for the feminine, and the masculine then takes advantage of that because he's looking for the perfect woman, but doesn't realize that he's not actually matching up to the woman because he's leaving his heart. But then there's the other side of, what about the woman? What about sex? And the truth is, when a woman is commoditized, and commoditization is ownership, when she starts to feel hunted by the masculine, she starts to feel pressurized, and if that happens, she can't feel safe and be in her body, and so she can't be spontaneous, and that energy of exchanging sexual energy is stopped because she's waiting for the man to come back into his heart. But if there's a narcissistic spiral of he's in his heart, the narcissistic spiral that I talk about, 1, 2, 3, 4, so valuing, devaluing, discarding, and hoovering. If that cycle's going on, and eventually she's going to cotton on, and she's going to go, okay, you don't actually love me, you're just using me. And the healthy version of this is if the masculine comes back and says, oh my God, yeah, I'm sorry, I left my heart, I'm coming back, I'm trying to heal that, and he's focusing on the wounds. This is what I've been doing. Then the feminine can start to feel a bit safer, but then it has to be a bit more focused into, okay, why does the feminine feel unsafe? What am I doing to make her feel unsafe? And normally it's to do with control as well as commoditization. So that there's, it's a bit of a minefield for the masculines to start that acknowledgement process of like, yeah, okay, I think I'm doing this to you, I'm not sure, but let's investigate. And I'm definitely doing this, let's investigate. I want to stop all these things so that we can be closer together, I can be more in my heart, and you can feel safe, so that we can have a more loving relationship. Now I'm going to just check out the notes on my phone now. So I couldn't read it and film at the same time, so I'm going to do I'll do a voiceover for that. So what I wanted to say from my notes is, sexualization of the feminine comes from the abuse of innocence. So sexual abuse, like I said earlier, sexual abuse is passed down through bloodlines, and when it is not healed, it is passed down through the womb. This means that our parents, more often than not, and possibly during our own conception, did not make love but had sexual intercourse through lust and sexualization. This means that humanity has lost its sacred connection to making love in purity. In my process, I've learned this through working with the triggers around sex and sexuality. Many of the things come up like consensual rape in relationships, men getting in the way and using love to obtain their addiction to sex and feeding from the feminine. This is a powerful trigger for men and is very difficult to overcome. Our current state of societal affairs pays homage to porn, gender confusion, transgender wars, sex changes and gender manipulation and avoidance, all through the avoidance of understanding the root cause of why people are behaving like this. It's not scientific, it is emotional of origin, an emotion that is trapped in the body and the DNA. This promotes fear, pushing people into the mind believing they know, but this is far from intelligence, because it is only through feeling that we can gain the true answers for something so deeply wounding. Remember, the mind is intellect and the heart is intelligence. The sexualization of our innocence, our soul, and how that pushes us into a corner of avoidance where we make poor choices based on trauma. And as I said earlier, the word love is thrown around like toilet paper these days. Love, like everything else, is being completely commoditized to the point where everyone is feeding from everyone else just to survive. It's also prudent to point out that in relationships, this causes massive problems. The feminine who seeks security through love finds herself giving herself away, breaking her own boundaries of dignity just to please the masculine. And this causes a toxic cycle of judgment on the feminine from the masculine. This is the kind of energy that creates incels, whereby men are looking for purity in a woman, but are not willing to become pure themselves because men are looking for security in sex. How about that? So women use sex against men and men use love against women. There is a purity of alchemy to all of this that requires the masculine to grow up, to stop feeding, to mature from the mother's teat, and to be more present in his heart and integrity. From the feminine, it requires stronger boundaries so she can feel safe to feel her sexual energy without feeling commoditized or abused. Remember, commoditization is ownership, a form of slavery. When the feminine gives way to the impure masculine for sex, she is giving herself away. And this falls right into the hands of the man who judges a woman to be a whore or a slut, etc. The feminine then hides her sexual prowess because the man has not stepped into love to meet her in purity, because if she shows that level of prowess, she'll be labelled a whore and exploited. So, there you go. Let that be known. Something I did remember when I was reading the notes, which is really important, is sublimation. Now, what happens to all that sexual energy that a man has if he can't make love with the feminine, right? Now, this can be really destructive, or the opposite, wildly. You can use that energy to create your life, or you can use it to destroy your life. Now, what comes up is codependency. And when there's codependency, where the wound of the feminine and the wound of the masculine are feeding off each other, trauma bonding, it creates codependency. And when one tries to be interdependent, the other one kicks off, and this creates home wrecking, right? And this can be extremely volatile. So when I have been working on this wound unknowingly for several years now, and Spirit kicked it off for me. So I even did a bit of tantra to see, is that right for me? What can I learn from that? And I saw enormous impurities in it. I took a massive step back. Luckily, Hazel's a priestess of sacred sexuality from Glastonbury, and so there's a whole journey around that, and I can tell you it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Like, if you think sex is good, sacred sexuality is just on another level. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. There's no other word than that I can think of. It's just wow. And the reason I'm talking about this is, if think of that level of destruction, that where the masculine doesn't know what to do with that energy. Where can that energy go, right? And yeah, you can think of, oh well, the man can go out running, he can climb a mountain, or he can do multiple jobs, or he can start soaring. But what if he put that energy into you both creating a life together, right? This is what I've been learning to do, and following your own dreams. But when I mean dreams, I don't mean the dreams that society sells us. I mean the dreams of your divine purpose that you're not fully aware of, because it is a process of becoming aware of why you're here, your purpose, and then your life, your passions, what you create, the direction you take, how you love, how you receive love, your soul gifts, your abilities, and all of that grounded here on earth. It's a profound process, and this is what I coach people through. And it's a journey, it's a long journey. If you're looking for quick fixes, you're never going to get there. Never going to get there. This is why, another reason why it's so difficult to meet the feminine on their level, because they take their time. They go round and round like the earth goes around the sun, and men go straight. They have their own process, and it's faster. But if they don't slow down, come back into their bodies, their hearts, and they shoot up into fear, into the mind, and they hear the ego, react from the ego, create a life from trauma wounds. And that means you have to start again. It's an enormous waste of time, causes a lot of shame and problems and destruction. And so the difficulty is learning what are the gifts of the masculine. The gifts of the feminine are really prominent. They're quite obvious to see. They're creators. And you could say, well, men are protectors, but there are hidden gifts. We both have hidden gifts. But the one thing I always learn from women who are doing this level of work is they teach me higher levels of integrity of what it means to be a man. Because when I turn up, like I'm staying with a woman called Katie at the moment. Hazel and I are staying there. She's putting us up. And sometimes she will say words to Hazel, or treat Hazel better than I would, and that's triggering for me. And I can see how women like that, who show up in a really high level of love to their friends, that can really cause a massive kickback for the masculine, who is the partner. It's a huge trigger. And so I go, okay, what is that trigger? What is she showing me? Oh, she's showing me that I'm not being gentlemanly enough. My etiquette isn't high enough. I'm not standing enough in my power. But me just acknowledging that is enough to go, okay, I want to meet you at that level, Katie. And then when I tell her that, she's like, and then she starts to feel safer. You see, it's this communication, this cross-pollination of, do you feel safe for me? I don't feel so safe. Do you feel safe? Okay, how can we make each other feel safe? Well, the masculine goes first. I'm going to stop trying to control you. I think I've been doing this to you. Is there anything you feel? Oh yeah, I feel sometimes I feel this way. Oh yeah, maybe that could be me. Yeah, but I'm doing it too. Okay, and then this conversation, this deep conversation about, oh, this comes from this wound. Oh, I'm like my father. I'm like my mother. I'm like my brother. I'm like my sister. There's some kind of song called that, isn't it? So this is really profound stuff that I'm sharing. I'm sharing my journey, and one day I think it will make a lot of sense to people when everything starts to come to fruition and the integration has happened. But these are the kind of wounds that everybody's running away from, and it's why we've got so much separation in society. I mean, I go out there at the moment, and it feels like when I go out into the streets where there's people and there's shops and supermarkets and cars, it just feels fake. It's all fake. It feels completely fake. Everything's been commoditized. It's just consumerism in every window. Everybody's trying to steal from everyone. Everybody wants everybody's money and energy. And every time I go out there, I come back feeling really belligerent, like I just want to tear everything down. And it's really upsetting. I'm not going to lie, I find it really upsetting. I find it difficult to feel safe, and extremely difficult to connect with people, because I'm afraid that if I show them love, they'll tell me to, get lost. Or, I have a lot of fears of that, because in my past life, before I started this work, that's what happened to me. But I realised on this journey, and it's so profound, and I hope if there's one thing you can take away from this, is that when you heal something that you're attracting in your life, it stops happening to you. Think about that, right? If people take advantage of you, how are you taking advantage of yourself? Heal that wound wherever that comes from. People stop taking advantage of you. Standing up for yourself, whatever it is. If you, I use myself as an example. I used to have people just randomly come up to me in the street and have a go at me, no provocation. Some of the stuff that's happened to me, you wouldn't believe, is just abnormal. Punched in the face, beaten to the curb, put in hospital. Just wrong place, wrong time, right? And I worked through that, and it's been tremendously difficult. But now, instead of men wanting to kick my head in or beat the shit out of me, they're being really kind to me, and I'm finding it really like, whoa, what's going on here? Why is everybody being nice to me? I don't understand this. So I'm finding it difficult to accept who I am, and this creates self-worth issues. To accept, every time I meet someone who listens to my channel, they're like, wow, you're amazing, I listen to your videos. And I'm like, really? You're like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm like, wow, okay, thank you, I didn't know that. Because it's difficult to see yourself when you're not interacting, and there's reason, like I just told you, the reasons I'm finding it difficult to interact with people. And when you can see through the lie, it's really difficult to engage with people who can't. Really difficult. So I hope that brings some new sense and wisdom for anyone listening. And I'm just going to share some beautiful scenery with you now. Thank you for listening. Please like, share and subscribe. Do me so much justice in getting my work and service out there. Please leave your comments below on what you think about sexualization and all the wounds between the feminine and the masculine, or even completely different topics of what you're going through.